Yes.
Oh, hey. Multiple uses of Shark Kart. It's now our mobile gym. I know we talked about before I was going to do a rear radiator. I decided to veto that idea. I think it's a bad idea. One, it's gonna have to sit about here, which is way too close to the driver's head without a firewall. If anything goes wrong, it's gonna spray hot fluids all over him. That's a scary situation when you're driving. So with a firewall, if that was in place, it's gonna be a little bit too close to have any airflow. We'd have to do some NACA ducts or some really weird stuff. I think it's just gonna block the flow of it. The most efficient way is to have it in the front, and the rear is just strictly aesthetics. I'm gonna do it in the front and make a really cool bash bar around it. We might do some kind of V-mount setup, given we're gonna do a power adder. So I'm gonna do a battery box today, and that would be kind of where the radiator needed to be anyway, but to bring the weight more to the back of the vehicle because we've chopped a lot off of it. Today's Shark, step one, focus. Check. Step two, I'm gonna build a battery box, show you how to build one out of aluminum, bend it up, little welding. Step three, I don't know if you remember, but when I did the burnout, the brakes kind of faded on me. It was a little scary. I want to figure out what's going on with that. Caliper could be stuck, we might need new pads, and the e-brake doesn't work for anything. So I'm gonna try and get that tightened up and working. Step four, we got a lot of noise complaints. So we gotta quiet it down. I need to build an exhaust so we can actually drive this thing around. Because it's pretty loud. I know you can't really hear it, but a straight pipe Miata, too loud. Step five, I'm excited. I wanna drive it. I've seen it in the comments. I wanna do man line. I'm really excited to try and do man line in the Shark Kart. That's why I wanna get the brakes done. Woo! First thing I'm gonna do today, battery box. I'm gonna show you how to bend one up real quick. Just a little bit of welding, not too much, but I wanna be able to cover up these posts. I'm gonna use probably a steel base plate and then attach it with an aluminum top cover, and also insulate this so they don't arc and catch on fire. So I'm gonna start with the aluminum and a steel base plate. So my first step to this, I got the battery box out, and I just wanted to measure the length and width just to get the base started. So I'm gonna start with the base plate. I'm gonna make that out of steel. Basically what I wanted to do is kind of like a picture frame. So we have 9 inches here and 5 1/4 to allow for that there. And I'll draw that out as a square, and then I want to do about 1 inch around that. So I will add 1 inch to each dimension and then measure in from there. And I'll show you how that works. Okay, so I cut everything to length. That's the base of the box that I want to use. So I just draw a box now around everything that will be 1 inch from each corner. And that should be the base of where the battery sits. And then we bend it up and use those as tabs to attach the rest of it. So it's kind of rough to see, but you can see the lines here. That's 1 inch in from each corner. That should be the box where this fits, and you can see that's roughly where everything is gonna sit. Now, I always draw them long and leave that corner there, so you draw it long. I'm gonna cut that out to accept the bend. So this is gonna come up, that's gonna come up, and I'm gonna weld these two seams together. Okay, so I just cut these pieces out on the corners, and you can see the line for them to bend on. One thing I like to do before I bend it is I'll take a round file and just hit it right in the corners here. So I cleaned all the swarf off, and you can see there's a little bitty half moon in there, which is where I use the round file. Just so when I bend this up, it's not gonna overlap each other. Now the next part, I don't have a bender. So I'm gonna make something for the edge of the table here. Okay, so I have the tray built for the bottom. Basically just gonna set the battery on in there. And what I'm gonna do now is make a strap from here to the top. I'm probably just gonna weld that in and then make something boltable across the top here. So one strap up this side, a strap up the back side, and then I'll bolt the two together and have a bolt right here to hold the aluminum box that's gonna go on top of it. So a quick update, got the battery tied on in, building the box to go over it. Don't really have enough material, so I'm gonna do 3 bends and then cut an extra additional piece out and weld that on, and that'll make the casing around it. And probably gonna drill a hole and put a bolt in the top so it's easy access, so you can do it just by hand, so we can take it off at the track or wherever we are. It's been a while since I've welded aluminum, but box is all done, pretty decent. Gonna install it, move on to the brakes. So I just found these glasses so I can see more clearly what I need to do for the brakes. That's just what I'm curious about. I just finished up this tie down, should be really strong, and a box to go over it. But I'm really curious as to what happened with the brakes, so I'm gonna pull off all the wheels and kind of just diagnose whatever's going on. I think one of them is seized, or the brakes are faded. Maybe it just needs a good bleed, but I really want to get that handbrake going because I would really like to do mainline. Really, really, really want to do mainline. All right, upon first inspection, had a horrible noise coming from the front driver's side. You can see. It's just that brake shroud hitting. It's pretty annoying. So I'm gonna bend that back out of the way. And I think I'm just gonna replace the pads and try and bleed it. It doesn't seem like anything's actually hung up. The lines are in decent shape. So I'm gonna pop off the calipers and just see if I can get the pistons to move. If any of them are seized or whatever, I'll find out then. But until then, back to time lapse. As I suspected, one side was stuck. So I've already replaced the driver's side with just the pads, but this side needs a new caliper because it is seized, it won't move. I've been pumped the brakes a few times to see if I could get the piston to move out, and it didn't move at all. So I'm gonna have to replace this. Both the rear calipers were seized up. I have to replace them both now. Hopefully we can get this done soon and get to ripping. Pump it up, Cal. Hold it. Stay down, Cal. Hold it. Pump it. How's it feel?
Feels a lot better.
What's going on here?
I don't know, but it's about time we drive the shark cart.
Is this shark car time?
Yeah. Shut it off. What did you just do?
Wait, you shut it off by unplugging it?
Now shut it off.
Shut it off.
Wow, that's some shit.
Engineering.
Classy stuff, guys.
So what the f are you doing?
I want to test the brakes. I just,
Oh, you changed? Because I remember when we got this thing, the brakes were...
yeah, well...
He gave us like brake lines or something to fix it.
The calipers were all seized up except for that one.
Is that why the donuts were so perfect?
Yeah.
I don't know, I kind of liked having just one wheel. We could be able to like, it's like hook brake it, you know? You dive it in.
You have to just like cock the wheel in.
I don't know if you can man line with that stuff. I wonder how this whole corner was all messed up. Huh? Weird.
Bends it back a little
Looks
bit.
good.
It was.
Oh, that alignment looks pretty fine.
This is still astonishing.
Leave that for right now.
You gonna go smash this thing?
Yes.
Hey Dan, can you do us a favor when you're... Huh?
What is that?
I don't know.
Stupid belt.
Sounds like the dumb belt.
Look at something.
Yes. It sounds awful, but it looks fun. It's so small.
It looks like it drives really good.
It's so tiny. That's all right.
Is it good? Hey, rip some donuts around me. What? Whoa. You scuffed up our cars, Johnnies, man.
I love these wheels too. That's so
Sick. Hey, good job.
So yesterday, I ran the lot in Shark Kart. It was really, really fun, but it was also really, really loud. So I got to replace the exhaust with this junk that's just floating around and doing nothing. And I'm gonna put something to quiet it down a little bit so we stop getting noise complaints and we can rip it all the time. And as you remember, I kind of explored the space, so to speak, and maybe just grazed the container. Little rash on the Cosmis wheels, but luckily they're really tough, so didn't bend it, just a little rash that I can clean up. I'm gonna maybe inspect this, see if it did any damage to the alignment or the arms. But it felt great when I did the donuts around Hertz, so I think it's okay. So we'll continue with the exhaust. First thing I wanna do, take this off right about here. I think we'll still use that stock part. But this is useless, this is useless. Gotta take that off and start building from there. Actually, I just noticed this wiring harness hanging down, which should be attached to this power plant frame. That's this here, attaching the transmission to the differential. This is the power plant frame in a Miata. Not many cars have them, but this one does. So I'm gonna zip tie this crap out of the way so I can actually see and work, because it's really freaking frustrating to have something in your way when you're trying to build an exhaust. So that's the first thing I'm gonna do. So I want to reuse this flange right here because it's the appropriate size, and I'm going to weld another tube onto it. So there's studs in it, and they're old and they're rusty, and I want to take them off, and these bolts don't fit. What I'm going to do is put these nuts on and then just kind of throw a little bit of weld in there, because it's really difficult to get these out. They're kind of rusted in there. So I'll throw a little bit of weld in here, and then I can use a socket to pull that out. It's just kind of the easiest way to remove a stud if you have just some old junk bolts laying around or some junk nuts to put on it and weld in there. And then I'm gonna drill it out and put through bolts through it so we can take them out in case they're rusty next time. That thing's still glowing hot, but just a little bit in there. Drill these babies out so I can fit a bigger through bolt after I cut the flange off. So now I'm just gonna bolt that on and then start building the exhaust from this point. So I got the flange on, installed. Now I wanna put this on somewhere in line. So I wanna tuck it up really high because I have a really bad idea, which you'll see in the future. So I'll make a piece in between. Well, I put a resonator on and just kind of put it as high as I could. So it's even or above the frame rail. And I just want to see how it sounds right now. So I fired it up. It sounds better, but it's still loud. So I'm gonna try and put a muffler on it, quiet it down a little bit more.
Kyle, Dan finished his exhaust or what?
Yeah, he just got done.
What's cracking now?
Well, he wants you to take a look at it.
He wants me to...
See if it's up to Big Hurt specs.
Well, it's probably gonna scrape the ground when I get inside of it. Dan, what you got for me?
It's a bit quieter.
Just a little bit?
Just a little bit. It still sounds good, but it's just a bit quieter.
Just a bit. You're emphasizing on that a lot. Little turn down?
Right there, bam.
Little turn down? Let's hear it, Johnny, real quick. I love this. That's definitely manageable. That's definitely manageable.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
No, not at all. So what's next on your agenda?
Well, my tube bender comes in this week, so I'll carry on with a whole lot more.
You gonna finish the tube front and all that?
Finish the tube front,
You
tube
gonna?
rear.
You're actually gonna like?
Yeah. It's gonna get a real radiator, a newer radiator.
I just like kicking that thing.
I know. I'll let you kick it off.
When it's time, can I kick it off?
You can kick it off.
Oh yes.
It's just not now. I still like to drive it.
All right.
You want to see what the exhaust looks like?
Kinda.
Think we can lift this baby up?
Of course we can.
Yeah, it looks great.
That looks really good, actually.
Yeah.
Right, look, you can even see that. Nice work, Dan.
1, 2, 3.
How did we do that? Anyway, that was good.
That's a wrap!
Peep that. Chili Nelson, bro.